I'm Jessica Langenberg, Director of Leadership Development, and today I want to talk about success, and specifically what it is and how we get more of it. Essentially, success is that warm, fuzzy feeling we get when we deliver an outcome or achieve a result that is meaningful to us. So it's important to recognize that success is really personal. What makes me experience that feeling of success may be very different than what makes another person experience that feeling of success. It's all about achieving something that matters to us, whatever that thing is. So that's what success is, but how do we get more of it? I want to share with you a story about a client of mine and his journey to success. So my client is a project manager, and in his role, he works with a number of different engineers, so incredibly smart, incredibly talented individuals. Now, my client is a really smart guy too, but when we take a minute to consider his past experiences, he didn't do all that well in school, and he decided not to continue his education after high school. And over the years, that decision has created some challenges and barriers for him, which has really been his experience. And because of those experiences, those challenges, those barriers, it has really created some limiting beliefs for him about himself, his abilities, and his capabilities. We call those limiting beliefs, those patterns of thinking, habits of thought. And for my client, some of his habits of thought were, I am not smart enough to do this job. I am not smart enough to communicate well with these individuals. They're going to realize I have no idea what I'm talking about. Or even worse, I'm really going to have no idea what I'm talking about. And that thinking had a huge impact on the work that he did, on his behaviors and actions. So because he was always feeling like he was going to be found out, it was going to be discovered that he wasn't smart enough or he didn't know enough to be able to do the job, he wasn't particularly responsive. He wanted to do all of his communication with his engineers via email, where he had some time to think and process and ask questions. So he did everything he could to avoid in-person or phone conversations. When he did get questions, his answers were always, I don't know, or he would pass the buck on to somebody else. So those were his behaviors, and they had a huge impact on his results. His clients, his engineers were frustrated with the lack of communication and their inability to get answers. And to be honest with you, his boss, the owner of the company, was not particularly happy with him either. He certainly wasn't experiencing that warm, fuzzy feeling of success. We call this the success chain, and my guess is we can all relate to this on one level or another. We've all had those experiences, whether it be in our job, with other individuals, that have impacted our habits of thought, have impacted our thinking and our beliefs in ways that have then impacted our behaviors and actions and the results that we've achieved. Things like, I'm not good enough, I'm too busy, I'm not smart enough, whatever those habits of thought may be. So the real power in this success chain is first in when we realize the impact that our thoughts and our thinking have on our behaviors and actions. But second, when we realize that we have the ability to choose a different behavior or action in order to get a better result. So in the case of my client, once he recognized the power that that negative thinking about himself and his capabilities was having on his behaviors and his results in his role, he changed some behaviors. He did some things differently. He got incredibly proactive in his communication. He got incredibly responsive to the requests. He quit saying, I don't know, and he took ownership of problems rather than passing them on to someone else. As a result, his clients, the engineers, were more satisfied, they were happier, they were more productive, and his boss was a lot happier with him as well. He definitely was experiencing that higher level of success. Now, the really cool thing is, even though we're looking at this in a pretty linear fashion, our experiences create our habits of thought, which create our behaviors and actions, and so on. The real power in this model is that when we choose to do something differently and get a higher level of result, when we experience that feeling of success, it starts to create a new experience for us as well and challenge some of that thinking. We learn that we can do it, we are smart enough, we are good enough, we do have enough time to make it a priority. And then those behaviors and actions get so much easier to continue into the future. So here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. We have all heard that definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. So I want you to take some time to reflect on your own habits of thought, whether that's a limiting belief or a pattern of thinking that has an impact on your actions, as well as your own behaviors, and commit to doing something differently. Consider, what can you think differently, or what do you need to do differently in order to get a different result? It's the only way to success.